Good evening everybody, and welcome back to my kitchen here at home. This is the last video of the week, and what we're going to do this evening is rejuvenate again what we had last night. For those of you that tuned in, I had made these fish cakes, and although the recipe said to make 6 large ones, I decided to make, in actual fact I got 10 smaller ones out of it. So we're going to have that left over tonight. So that's going to be our evening meal tonight again. And instead of having the, apologies again, dog's just gone outside. Instead of having the fried veg that I had last night, which was just kale and some parsley, because I had made leek and potato soup, so I didn't want to use leeks last night. So tonight I am going to use leeks. And I'm going to do a favourite of mine in our house, and that's just leeks in a cheese sauce. So basically tonight it's just to show you again, if you haven't done it before with me, how to make a very basic simple roux. And the basis of this, you can make as much or as little as you need, but the standard measurement is whatever size of spoonful of butter that you use, and I have mine already melting in the pot, and I just used one of these tablespoons. You would then use exactly the same amount of flour. Now, because I'm only making a small amount of cheese sauce just as an accompaniment for the fish cakes and the leeks, I've only used 1 tablespoon, and you can probably hear that sizzling away. So what I'm going to do, take it off the stove just now, and I'm going to put in 1 of the tablespoons of flour. So put that in there, and I'm going to return it to the heat. Hopefully, you'll see what I mean in a minute. I'll take it off the stove to let you have a look. And what you want to do is mix the flour into the butter, but also allowing it to cook out. Now I could actually do with a little bit more. Sometimes it can vary slightly depending on the butter that you've used, and I've just used a cheap margarine because that's quite sufficient. That's it now. And what you should end up with is this paste. Very difficult to describe what it's like, but it is just like a thick paste. And what I'm going to do now is put it back over on the stove. I'm going to ditch the wooden spoon and return to the pot with my whisk, and I'm now going to put in my milk. Now I haven't measured this milk because I don't actually know how much I'm going to need, and what I'm going to do now is just whisk in a little of the milk at a time. And the idea is to whisk a little at a time until it's nice and smooth and no lumps. Now when I was taught this back in my school days, back in the late 70s, giving my age away now, we were told to take it off the heat and to add the milk in little at a time off the heat, and then once it was all in, put it back on. But I found for quickness that to just do it on the heat is just as good. So I'll just keep whisking away. Adding a little more milk each time. As I say, I don't want too much, so I won't add too much of the milk at one time. And to this, I can take a break. I'm going to add a little salt and pepper. Now I normally would add some smoked paprika to my sauce, but I'm not going to just now because it's not everybody's cup of tea. The one thing I will add though, which I didn't look out, would be a little mustard. Now you can use mustard powder, which I also have, but I've also got some hot English mustard here. So I'm going to put a little of that in. Again, not too much because I'm not making a huge amount of sauce, and we don't want the mustard to overpower it. But it just gives it a little extra flavour, a little tiny flavour and a bit of heat. So that's coming up to the boil nicely. And once it starts to boil, I will then add in my cheese. Now again, I haven't measured this out because you could actually do this recipe with just the leeks in a white sauce. It's not my favourite, I prefer cheese. But I'm going to use a little of this into the sauce. This is frozen cheese, which I buy already grated and put it in the freezer. I do this at work as well, and it's ideal because it means you very rarely run out, but also you don't have to stand and grate, and you don't have the threat of getting your fingers caught and all the rest of it. So that's coming up nicely now. So I'm just going to keep whisking. Oops, making a bit of a mess here until it's nice and thick. This is something, unfortunately, without the powers of a television, we can't fast forward this, and I haven't made any in advance because this afternoon we actually went out shopping for the first time in 2.5 weeks, and they got stocked up, so hopefully we won't have to go out again until perhaps the restrictions are lifted. Okay, so now that's all nice and thick, I can take it off the stove. I can add in my leeks, which I've already parboiled, and I cheated this afternoon actually. I actually put them in little water in the microwave and just did them for about 2 minutes, which is just enough time to slightly soften them without them going mushy, and then obviously they'll heat again in the cheese sauce. And there we have it. Now that isn't just as thick as I would like it, so I'm going to put it back onto the stove and leave it to heat through. Once I've done that, I'll then put it into my greased dish, pour over the rest of the grated cheese, and I've also got this grated sort of Parmesan cheese, but it's not the real McCoy. But I'll also use this up because I bought a new one today. So once I put the grated cheese over the top, I'll then sprinkle over the grated Parmesan, and then that'll go into the oven again probably about 6:30, just to slowly heat through, and all the grated cheese will just melt over the top, and it'll be absolutely delicious. And there you have it, a very, very easy way to make a cheese sauce. Guys, I hope you have the most fantastic weekend. I know it's a bit of a pain being stuck indoors or stuck in the garden, but let's stay safe. We've only got a few more weeks, hopefully, to endure, and perhaps we might be lucky restrictions may get lifted. But in the meantime, keep well, stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you all again on Monday. Bye.